We weren't even there.
They're getting absolutely no indication that these parties have vacated. There's shoes on the porch.
Show your evidence. Vacated a property in May.
Judgment for them to go in and drill out the locks.
You mean,
access.
When did they do that?
I have no idea.
So how do you know they did that? What's your name?
Amanda Williams.
Oh, that's it. Household appearance?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Jessica Larson on behalf of Plaintiff Oak Sparrow, along with representative of the property.
Okay, today was the date set for hearing. This is for termination of tenancy. Did the parties come to a resolution?
We haven't spoken on this one, Your Honor. From the prior hearing, my understanding is we've got quite a dispute. I don't think that we're in dispute on possession. The tenants are indicating that they actually vacated far before we believe that they did. So I don't know. I don't think that a resolution is likely on this one, Your Honor. I do say that I will say the issue of possession is probably moot because the tenants are indicating moved out.
I don't know what prior hearing you're talking about. I have a note here. Let's see. It's a pre-trial. Present. Tenants no longer in possession of property. There was a hearing for the 18th. Okay, so what happened? You're saying you vacated the property?
Yes, Your Honor. I was served a 7-day on May 24th. I'm new to this whole process. I've always paid all my bills. So at that point, I uprooted everything that I could take, including my family, and we vacated the property. I attempted to make a phone call to Miss Sandy Bristol, fell upon deaf ears, as many communications had to that point. I, at that point, thought this was all behind us, and then all of a
communication
sudden,
saying that you had vacated, is that what you mean?
yes, I attempted to contact her and let her know the key was on the counter and we were out of there. No response.
You have record of where you...
I did text her and ask her why on the day of the that I received the 7-day, because at that point it was to my knowledge we were doing everything that we could to stay in the property, because we had previously had a case due over our animal that they tried to evict us and they lost in court, but for whatever reason that still shows up on our record. So when we attempted to go get a new home, when they refused to renew our lease, we have a red flag. I can't rent anything. They won't even show me places. So I reached out to Miss Bristol, and in good faith, I said, I will do whatever it is in my power to keep my family in this home. I jumped through their hoops. I gave them record of my dogs. I obtained insurance.
I'm talking about this eviction though?
What's that?
I'm talking about this eviction, not the previous one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so, I'm sorry, I guess I misunderstood.
Okay, because I thought you were talking about there was another eviction
There
about
was
an
an
animal.
attempt at it.
Okay.
They were ruled against in the
Okay.
courtroom.
So since receiving
that
this
eviction
notice of
has put-
eviction, that's when you reached
Yeah,
out and
that-
said you would do anything?
Yes, after
Okay.
when I attempted to, because then we went back and finished out our lease, and then we got a letter in the mail that they are choosing not to renew. So I was like, that makes sense. And I attempted to find a place. When I realized we were blacklisted and I couldn't even rent a place, then I reached out to them and said, I'm willing to do anything that you would like. And I did everything they like. They walked the property. Everything looked good. There was no damage to the property. And then all of a sudden the letter comes in the mail, you need to leave within 7 days. So in fear of another thing going on my record, I took what we could and we vacated there. We were gone before June.
When you say you took what you could, doesn't sound like you took all your stuff.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
And then you didn't turn over possession.
Like I said,
What did you leave there?
I had just things that we didn't have space to store or anything. I took the possessions, our day-to-day possessions, and we bounced around since. We were going to make an attempt to clean the place up if that was their request, but again, she did not give me any communication back and forth until we got a new court date.
So you
After
communicated
that-
with her in via text after you left?
Yes, I asked
what
her
did you
on the
say?
24th. I said, why? And she says, you have continued to ignore us. You never submitted the animal application, and the dogs were an issue. It's too much of a liability.
Did you
Well,
tell her
I
that you
do have-
vacated? Did you tell her that you vacated?
No, because I hadn't at that point. This was the
Okay,
day that I
wanna
received
know
the
what,
7-day.
I wanna know about you communicating that you vacated.
That was a telephone call.
Okay, you called her?
I don't have a record of the telephone
Did
call.
you talk to her on the
That's
phone? Or did she not answer?
No answer.
Did you leave a voicemail?
I was not able to leave a voicemail.
Why not?
To be honest, I don't know if her mailbox was full or what have you, but I wasn't able to leave her a message at that time.
Okay, so how is she supposed to know that you vacated?
Answer the call.
Okay, so when you called, let's say she was tied up and busy, couldn't answer. Or maybe technology didn't work well, and she didn't even know you called.
If I don't know how to answer that for you. It was a confusing, scary time for me. I have not experienced things like this. I just like I put my hands in there. We're out of here. Like I've done everything I
And
can
you
do
left
to
the
stay
keys there, you said
Yes.
at the property? Okay, counsel?
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Counsel, did the property appear to have been vacated, but there was a number of things left there?
There was a substantial amount of things there left, Your Honor. From my understanding, the tenants continued to reside there because they were paying utilities there until the date of the hearing that I think Your Honor read, that was in front of Judge Buchanan. My client didn't get notice of the utility switch over. There was no indication of keys being left. There was no written notification. There was no verbal notification. Up until that hearing, we had no idea that they were going to even claim that they had moved out back in May.
Where were you still paying?
Well, we had past due amounts, so I was paying the minimums at that time to keep my name from getting to the point where I wouldn't be able to put utilities in my room at the next, or I mean, my name at the next residence that we would be at.
My client didn't get notification of any utility turnover until, again, after the hearing that was before Judge Buchanan back in November.
Which all would have been communicated had her client answered the phone call, but she put me
Well,
on silent. Do
you
not
didn't change the
disturb.
utilities over to your new place. Where did you, when you
I
left? where did you
can't find a new place because.
Okay,
of
so
this
you don't have a new place?
No, I'm bouncing around, staying with my mother at the moment.
Okay.
This has created quite a
But,
situation.
but
for us.
you didn't disconnect the utilities at the place, you just was paying the, you have some evidence of the utility bill?
No, I don't have evidence of the utility bill.
Yeah, so do you have any evidence of what was left in the property?
I have a ton of videos and photographs, Your Honor. My client has also gone by the property several times and can indicate that the vehicle that Mr. Carson and Ms. Williams, that vehicle was outside of that property on many occasions when she was driven by. There's a ton of stuff outside of the property. There was absolutely no indication that these parties had vacated. There's shoes on the porch.
Show your evidence.
And Your Honor, I will say too that the client.
Was there any physical evidence of us being there, or a picture of my vehicle there? Because I can guarantee that wasn't the case. They park
Okay.
in the driveway next door.
Okay.
Well, how would you know where my client parked?
Where are you, if you all wanna talk,
They
off the
did.
record,
Our
off the record, bye, you can talk outside. If you wanna talk to each other, if you want me to handle it, then you talk to me. You can talk outside, next case. On the record, in the matter of the people, I'm sorry, a matter of 421 Seymour LLC versus George Odell and 24-080 versus Carson and Williams.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And you've not come to resolution, correct?
We have not. It sounds like we're at an impasse, Your Honor.
Okay, so then you need to talk to me and not to each other. Back and forth is not gonna be allowed. If you start back and forth, I gotta move on. Look, all these people behind you waiting for their turn.
Apologies, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll allow you to present your evidence.
At this point, Your Honor, it sounds like based on some of the claims that the tenants are going to make as far as the utilities and how those were paid, I'm not able to access that. My client is not able to access a record that is in the tenant's name without a subpoena. So I'd ask the court to allow me to issue a couple of discovery subpoenas and reset this matter.
You said about how the utilities were paid, you mean?
Yes, my understanding is that utilities remained in the tenant's name, that they were paying those regularly until that November hearing with Judge Buchanan. The tenants are now claiming that they were only making the minimum payments and they were paying past due amount. I'm unable to access those records. My clients have called and they've tried to get at them, but the utility companies obviously are not going to release an account in someone else's name. So I think that would be an essential piece of evidence in this case.
Okay.
And so I'm asking for the ability to issue subpoenas to Board of Water and Light and Consumers.
That's fine. Is the property secured and winterized?
My clients have gone into the property, Your Honor. I don't know if they have, I would like an order actually confirming the possession that they can retake it, because they have gotten a notice from the city that they've asked for an extension until Monday in order to remove trash that's from the property, otherwise they're going to give a violation.
So there's trash that you're saying that they left, can I see?
Yes.
Your Honor, is that something that I'm privy to as well?
Okay, so it's front porch. This is from the code enforcement. They said that there was trash found in boxes, bags, and barrels on front porch, clothing and cloth products on front porch, deteriorated metal product on front porch, loose trash and debris, front porch, in yard, around behind the house. Did you leave trash at the property?
I guess you could consider it trash. Yes, there were several items that I explained that I had no choice but to leave behind. I didn't have.
No, you have a choice.
I did not.
You do have a
I had the
choice.
financial ability to do that.
Did you put the trash there?
I'm sorry.
Did you put the trash there?
There were items in the home.
Did you put the items?
interpreting them as
Did
trash
you
is
put
not
the
trash.
items? Did you put the items that have accumulated causing code compliance to come and issue this concern violation about? Did you put it there?
On the porch, no.
So the things that are not yours, how did they get there?
I don't know. They've had the property.
Do you have
since May.
pictures?
I have some pictures of the exterior of the property, yes, Your Honor.
I can't say what they're.
I didn't ask you to speak right now. Do you have copies for him?
I handed him one.
Okay, I see a helmet, I see a, look like child's car, a welcome mat, or something, welcome thing. I don't know what this is,
Again,
I didn't ask you to speak over me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It looks like something else on the porch, I don't know what it is.
Looks to be boxes and shoes.
You said boxes and what?
It looks to be 2 empty boxes and a pair of shoes.
What are the toys in the front yard?
Those were toys that my children played with outside that I have nowhere to store now. So they were items that were, yes, and left behind.
Okay, so there's shoes, there's boxes, I do see debris. You didn't put those there?
I'm sorry?
You saying you didn't put these things there?
That's why I said, is it trash or what are the items so that I can
You,
specifically tell you? Like, I wouldn't consider my kids' toys trash, but to each their own opinion.
you left the things here?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then you think that they're supposed to be responsible?
This
for
photo
getting-
was taken while we still live there, by the way. That item is in our, that football helmet is currently in our possession. I don't know where these pictures were taken or when, but that time frame they just gave you is wrong. Actually, multiple items that are in these pictures are currently in my possession.
Could I ask him to confirm what date he's going to say that he moved out?
What day did you move out of the property?
It would have been May 30th and 31st.
I
That was
took
the
these
moving.
photographs at the end of June.
Any other evidence that you have today?
I have a witness with me, Your Honor.
You can take this in.
Okay. Ma'am, can you state your first and last name and spell your last name for the record?
Jennifer Wilcott, WILLCUTT.
Have you, since May of 2024, have you been to that property?
Yes,
More than once?
I drove by the property at least once a month from June until November 20th was the last time, because I was told that they had told the court they had vacated.
And that's all through 2024.
Yes,
And did you observe any changes in the property between May and November?
yes,
Did items appear to be moved?
yes,
Did it appear to you that there was somebody residing in the home?
yes.
Are you familiar with the vehicle driven by either Chase Carson or Amanda Williams?
I've seen Chase put dog into I think it was a white kind of work type van possibly, or a panel. It was yes.
So you would recognize their vehicle?
I recognized it on the street, yes. I wouldn't recognize it out in traffic.
Fair enough. When on these occasions that you've described driving by the property, did you observe that vehicle?
Once or twice in the street, yes.
And that was a vehicle that you had seen Mr. Carson access?
Yeah.
At any point in time over the summer of 2024, did you get any notification from the city regarding any unkept lawns? Was that an indication to you that the lawn had been kept appropriate for the
Yes.
city? I'm sorry? You said something, sir?
Do I need to?
I thought he was interjecting. I'm sorry, Your Honor. Okay. Are you familiar, have you been in contact with the utility company in regards to 1317?
Yes,
And at any point in time, have you received notification that the utilities are being transferred into Oak Sparrow's name?
no,
What is your understanding of the status of the utilities?
On November 20th, 2024, there was no water or electrical service. I called Lansing Board of Water and Light at that time, and they told me that services were turned off on November 18th, 2024. I called Consumers Energy on November 20th, 2024, and they told me the gas service was still in tenant's name as of November 20th, 2024. I later went back to make sure that the property was still secure on December 5th, 2024, at which point there was no gas service. I called consumers and they said that it had finally been turned off in tenant's name on December 3rd, 2022.
And you said you appeared at the property on November 20th initially, and then
Yes.
again on December 3rd. Thank you. How did you gain access to the property on November 20th?
I was told that they had stated that the tenants had stated in court that they had vacated the property, and I was asked by my superior at the time to secure the property. So I asked maintenance to please schedule a time to go over and get the locks open so that we could change locks and secure the property properly. No items were touched or removed.
When you appeared on December 5th, did you notice any differences in the property?
The door was open and it looked like to be some kind of snacks or something on the stairwell and the living room. Things had been moved around a little bit, not about it.
Can you just?
Oh, the garage door was also, we had secured the garage door and that had been opened up as well. And it was like items that were moved around in the garage.
The photographs that have been presented to the court for the outside of the property, is that fairly representative of how the interior of the property was kept as well?
The interior has a lot more trash and items left out than the exterior. The exterior is not the worst.
Can you give a general description of the interior of the property?
There's a large mirror in the middle of the kitchen. There's trash bags that the mice have now taken over. There were baby and children's toys in the living room. I think some type of small animal bedding, a bag of animal bedding was in the living room. And then there was just general personal property throughout, clothing items, shoes, children's toys.
Were you able to speak with any of the neighbors who live nearby at 1317?
Yes.
And did they give an indication of observing the Mr. Carson and Ms. Williams there?
It's hearsay.
At any point in time, have either Mr. Carson or Ms. Williams indicated to you or to your knowledge, have they said that they were moving out?
No.
In April, did they indicate that they wanted to renew their lease?
Yeah.
Were you working on actively renewing the lease?
We were actively working on a month-to-month agreement.
What's your objection?
That is not the truth.
Objections are for evidentiary foundation, not that you dispute what she's saying. So if you dispute what she's saying, when she's finished, I'll give you an opportunity to give your testimony, but that's not an objection. So you can continue, ma'am.
Thank you. Did Mr. I want to call him the Carsons, did Mr. Carson or Ms. Williams turn in their keys at any point?
No, not to my knowledge.
Did you ever receive any written notification that they were terminating their lease?
No,
Did you actually appear at the property on May 1st of 2024?
I did.
What was the purpose of that appearance?
To inspect the home to see if there was any animal damage and to give animal applications and to explain what paperwork the owners have requested in order for them to stay in the property with their.
And so that was part of a process of extending the lease.
Correct. Mr. Carson also provided me with documentation for the dog licenses and vet records, which I did copy for him and return on May 7th. I did not enter the property on May 7th.
After May 2nd, did Mr. Carson ever indicate to you anything different other than moving forward with renewal of the lease?
No.
Are there any other facts or details that you think would be relevant to the court as far as this matter and whether the Carsons moved out in May?
The picture with the football helmet that was brought up, I took that personally, and that was on June 27th. The trash bin was also at the curb. On November 20th, the trash bin was in the backyard by the garage.
Any other details that you recall of items being moved around or?
There's a small child's car, I believe it's green. When the picture on the front, I think shows it in front of the stairs, that on November 20th, that was moved into the fence area. It was.
And the helmet's missing.
And the helmet was missing.
And then had the tenants paid any rent between May and November of 2024?
I believe their last payment was May 2024, mid-May.
Do you recall offhand the unpaid balance that's owed to the tenants?
I do.
If I showed you a copy of the ledger, would that refresh your recollection?
Yes, it was.
Go ahead and take a look at that. Don't testify from it, but when you read it, take a. Go ahead and look over it. Okay, do you recall the amount that's unpaid rent for the tenants?
$9,900.
Thank you. I don't think I have anything further.
Do you have any questions for this witness?
One sec. So you say that you've gone by once a month at least to check on the property.
Yeah.
And you've seen the vehicle that you believe to be mine there, correct?
A few times, yes.
And what was that vehicle?
I think it's a white van or some type of panel that has doors on the back.
Your Honor, I have no white van. I do not own a white van.
Okay,
I've never.
this is
owned a
time for
white
you to give or ask her questions, not time for
van. Oh,
argument.
okay, sorry. Yeah, that. And are you familiar? You said you were familiar with neighbors then?
I did not say I'm familiar with the neighbors.
Okay. Are you aware that they have children there?
I did not.
Okay. And are you aware that children will play with toys if they see them, such as a power wheel left outside that could move a couple times?
Objection
Because
calls for
kids-
speculation.
Just saying that the neighbors next door, Your Honor, they have several.
The question
children
is
that
it
play with
possible,
Parkinson's toys.
is it possible that the neighbors?
Yeah, is
Yeah.
it possible that someone else?
No, I'm asking you, was that your question?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm asking, is it possible that someone else may have moved a toy outside the home? That's what your ground you're going on
Objections
for us to be
overruled,
there?
you can answer it.
I guess anything's possible.
Okay. And any of the times that you have drove by the home, did you physically see myself or any member of my family? Okay. And when you called to ask about the utilities, they wouldn't speak to you, correct, about how it works? So it's a good possibility that we were paying the minimums to keep our
Objection,
name from
argument.
getting.
That
And
will
and
cause
speculation.
That causes speculation, you don't have to answer that.
Okay. Well, my point, Your Honor, is that in order to get something taken out of your name, you have to pay it in full. This came out of nowhere. I had no means to pay it in full. That explains why the utilities were continued to get paid and stayed in our name right up until the point where they just shut them off. It wasn't turned off because we.
I
didn't
understand
want
you,
them.
you've cleared that with me, with
Okay.
the, as part of why you've made those payments. They're asking for it to continue so that they can get the records. I'm just getting their testimony now, so when we come back, we don't have to do that.
I understand.
Do you have questions? Any more questions?
Not for her, no.
Okay, thank you. Any redirect?
Why do you believe that Mr. Carson has ownership of a white van?
I have seen him putting 2 dogs in that van on May 1st. About 5 minutes before our agreed upon appointment, where Sandy, David Bristol, and myself toured the property and spoke with both tenants.
So whether he owned it or not, he certainly had access to it.
He had keys that unlocked, and he opened the door and put 2 dogs in.
No further questions.
Did you say you had video, or is this what you're talking about?
The video, Your Honor, was taken by another witness who
Okay.
is out of the state at the moment. So if we do come back, I can present that, Your Honor, and have her testify.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to give you this evidence back for now. You had an issue about the property. You wanted an order?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like an order for immediate possession and reserve the money judgment for a continued date.
Well, order for possession is granted. They said they've already turned over possession
That's never been
of
a
the
question.
property. We'll deal with the money judgment. We'll continue for the money judgment issue. And
Right.
obviously, if they have to clean up trash and debris, that goes towards their money judgment claim. You do understand that, correct?
What's that?
If they have to go into the property to clear out the trash and debris, that costs money. And so that's also evidence that will go towards the money judgment. You
And
understand?
now, I don't know if it's possible or anything, but I would have had no problem communicating that with her, that I would be willing to take care of those items and get the property up. to
No,
par,
you
but she
just
didn't
told
answer.
me earlier that you had no choice.
No, I
to
didn't have the
leave it there.
means that within 7 days, but then I can say
No,
I can
but
come back with a truck
It's
when I can afford
it's
it.
been 6 months since
Yeah,
you
it
said
was
you
they-
left.
Yeah, and I just assumed they wrote it all off. That's why we're here today.
You could know as soon that they
And
filed
I
an
also,
eviction.
go ahead.
They've been on notice of this for several months, Your Honor.
You couldn't have assumed there's been an eviction pending, so you knew that the
And
eviction was still
Is it
pending.
general practice for them to drill out the locks and give themselves back the property without a judgment from the court?
It's not general
Okay,
course,
'cause that has
however,
happened.
it's also not general course to leave a property. That's why I asked, was the property secured? And was it winterized? Because if you vacated a property, if I take what you say to be truthful, that you vacated a property in May and that you called one time, no one answered, you left no voicemail, you never
I mean-
followed, do not talk while I'm talking. You left no voicemail, you never followed up, you never got any word to make sure they knew that the property was vacant. That means you left the property exposed and any animal, creature, person could come and take over this unit because you just left it abandoned with things there. When you leave things there, they don't know off the top that you have moved or rendered possession unless you notify them. And this is if I'm taking what you say to be true. And then on top of that, there's still electricity going to this. So if they check the electricity, they see that's still going on. So there's no reason for them to believe that you vacated unless you have communicated to them that you have vacated. It is now the dead of winter. We're in the middle of a snowstorm. It's gonna be 0 degrees. That's why I asked, was the property winterized? Because if it wasn't winterized and those pipes freeze and burst and there's damage to the property and I make a ruling that you have not properly turned over the possession, then now you're responsible for the damage if pipes freeze too. Do you understand how that works? Okay, so what is it that you feel like so urgent that you need to share with me?
I was just wondering, am I the only one that's responsible for communication? They had any questions they couldn't have reached out at any point during this? Did they have any attempts to reach out to me or any of my people
No,
to resolve it?
They did reach out to
Other
you.
than court?
They filed a notice to quit and vacate, and then they filed a summons and complaint to bring you to court. They have communicated.
So-
If you have vacated the property, your responsibility is to let them know that you have vacated and turn over the key.
Should they choose not to accept my calls?
You testified one call. That was your testimony.
Yes, I'm aware.
Already have enough for possession. You didn't turn over.
I'm not questioning.
Yeah, you
possession.
didn't
I'm
turn
just saying they
over,
took it
you
without
did
me
not
saying
turn
so.
over possession reasonably. It's not,
I just was
that's
under
not
the impression they
reasonable.
took it unlawfully.
Well, you left,
There was never a judgment for them to go in and drill out the locks
you
and
mean,
give them
what,
access.
when did they do that?
I have no idea. I
So
have-
how do you know they did that?
Because I went there after our last court date, when I was realized that they thought we were still there.
After the last court date, when you told me you had vacated in May?
Yes, I vacated in May.
So you're saying in May, they drilled out the property and
I
changed the
have
locks?
I have no idea what their time frame for lock drilling was. I
No.
know in November, when
You
I
went in
went there,
November.
the locks were drilled out.
After you've already communicated
When
that
I
you had,
found out that they thought
after
we
you
weren't
had
there.
already communicated that you didn't live there?
Yes. Because
So
at
then what's the
that
issue?
point, they thought the property was still mine.
No,
As
at that
far as
point,
that's
it's the
concerned.
middle of the winter
They're
and you
still
claim you left.
charging me for it.
In the middle of
Right.
the winter, you claim that you left and you left all your stuff
No,
there.
I didn't claim.
you said
I
that
left
it's not
in
your
the winter. I told
responsibility
you
to get it
May,
out.
Not the winter.
Judgment for the plaintiff
For possession or money?
and money.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can I include standard cost in that?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank
I'll
you.
get that submitted on e-filing.
Can I
Thank you.
object? I mean, can I
You
like?
can object all you want. I'm done. Thank you.
We weren't even there. They're getting. This.
Do you want me to have you escorted out?
Oh,
Excuse me? You want contempt next? Because I can give you 93 days in jail. Thank you. the record, back on the record in the matter